Welcome to ACF Chef's Table webinar. Thank you for joining today's webinar on a walk through the garden. For those unfamiliar with the American Culinary Federation, we're a leading organization for culinary professionals offering education, certification, and a community for chefs and food service leaders. If you're not yet a member, today's webinar is a great example of the valuable resources we offer. Today we'll be joining Farmer Lee Jones and Chef Jamie Simpson virtually from the fields of the Chef's Garden as they discuss what's in season now, what's just around the corner, and the future of agriculture as we explore the bold world of vegetables as headliners. Feel free to ask questions using the Q&A function at any time. Let's get started by sharing where you're tuning in from in the chat. I'm Christopher Tanner, ACF's Executive Director, and we're absolutely excited for you to be here. Let's meet today's presenters. Farmer Lee Jones is a farmer at the Chef's Garden in Ohio. The farm his family has owned for decades. They are committed to reviving heirloom vegetables and discovering exciting new varieties, all while telling their stories and farming sustainability so their vegetables are dense with flavor and nutrition. In 2011, Jones was honored with the James Beard Foundation Award for Who's in Food and Beverage, and he has spoken across the country as an expert in recognized regenerative agriculture. Whether he's roaming the farm or at the black tie event, Jones is always seen in his iconic outfit, a white shirt with denim overalls and a red bow tie. Also joining us today is Chef Liaison and Executive Chef Jamie Simpson. He is a passionate ambassador for using every part of the plant from root to tip, and since the beginning has maintained no waste policies in the kitchen as part of an overall mission to build a sustainable business model for today and tomorrow. He has traveled the world seeking insight into food, art, psychology, and how they intersect. Born in Charleston, South Carolina, he has worked alongside chefs in Peru, Iceland, England, France, Mexico, and all over North America. Chef Jamie says collaborating with the CVI team in industry-changing endeavors to ultimately provide hospitality in the truest form is the best part of his all-consuming career in the kitchen. At this time, I'll pass it over to Farmer Lee Jones and Jamie Simpson. Please take it away.
Thank you, Chef.
Thank you. Hey, great to be with you guys. Super excited. I'm actually sitting literally at the farm market right on the farm. We had not done retail for 40 years, but during COVID, the restaurants were suffering and the community wanted access to good, clean, healthy, safe food. And so we opened the farm market back up. Literally right across, I'm looking across the road to rows of tomatoes and baby squash and green beans and a plethora of all kinds of summer season. It's peak season here. We're located right along Lake Erie, and it's a little town called Huron, Ohio, about 7,000 people. If you haven't heard of Huron, Ohio, you may have heard of Cedar Point. It's an amusement park. Highest, tallest, fastest roller coasters in the world. It's about 6 miles from us. I think on a calm night, we can hear the screams from the roller coasters. But just super excited. Vegetables has been our world. It's been our life, all of my life. I'm 64 years old. I started working with my father. He started on this farm at 14 years old, growing vegetables for grocery stores. And we lost that farm in the early 80s. We met a chef. We knew nothing about the culinary world before that time. And she really changed our world and changed our direction. And we started focusing on growing better varieties grown for flavor rather than tons per acre. We're in an amazing microclimate, literally 2.9 miles inland from Lake Erie. The soil that we're on is all old lake bottom about 11,000 years ago, some of the richest sandy loam in the world. We kind of have the attitude that we can grow anything. It doesn't necessarily make sense to grow everything all year long. We're really focused on seasonal sensitivity, and I think chefs are more focused on that perhaps than ever before. I can tell you one thing, being here in the retail and seeing the customer that goes to the restaurants, they're more savvy, they're more in tune, they're more interested, more committed to environmentally friendly practices, socially responsible practices, and growing things in season and consuming them in season. I am opinionated. I will tell you that. And one of my opinions is I think it is absolutely BS if you got asparagus on a menu in August because it's not in season. Now, can we get anything in the United States any time of the year, 12 months a year? Yeah. Does it make environmental sense? Does it make social responsibility sense? Does it make any sense at all? No. When it's in season, I think we ought to have it 3 times a day. But when it's out of season, we ought to really focus on what's in season, because that's when it's the sexiest, that's when it's the best, that's when it's the most economically efficient, and when it's the most socially responsible from a carbon footprint. And a lot of good things happen when we're eating seasonally. I don't want to tie this up, but I just sort of want to get that in as a little intro. We're excited about vegetables and the future of vegetables and where this thing is going. You know, it used to be that somebody that came in that wanted more vegetarian dishes and less protein, somebody in the back would throw some sort of a lame dish together and put it on instead of what was supposed to go. Today, it's meaningful, it's purposeful, it's driven, and there really is a lot of interest in creating great dishes that are center of the plate vegetable with a little bit of protein. And so it's really exciting for us to see that evolution happening and evolving towards that. And I'm excited to hear what Chef Jamie's got to say about this process. And we're just super excited to be able to talk to you from the farm today.
You know, I was thinking actually about the day we met, Farmer, and it was Charleston, South Carolina, as Chef mentioned, Food and Wine Festival after party in our restaurant, and you're walking through the dining room, and I'm like, who is that guy? And he's like, mind if I see your walk-in? So we go, absolutely, right this way. We would go into the kitchen and walk through, and you said, asparagus from Peru, BS.
Something was from New Zealand, something was from whatever. Not that I'm against any of those places.
Of course,
right?
But we did have, a pedestal, a shelf dedicated solely to Chef's Garden vegetables in that restaurant at that time. And what drew me here to the farm was exactly that. Traveling around the world, the country, to some of my favorite restaurants and seeing Chef's Garden produce, not only just in the kitchen or in use, but just like held on its own like pedestal in its own way with its own it was like there's something going on at that farm, and I'd really love to see it. And so 10 years later, I'm still here at what we call the Culinary Vegetable Institute on the farm, a kitchen designed to host chefs, designed to teach, designed to get a better understanding of where our food comes from. It's really designed to process raw ingredients and turn them into beautiful experiences in our dining room. We're open maybe once a month to the public, and though 2 to 3 private events a week, and the rest of that time is dedicated to helping guest chefs with, we call it R&D or R&R. Just relax and enjoy the day, or let's dive in deep and figure out how to make your menu, more meaningful and tell a story about these ingredients that farmers, spend his life growing.
Absolutely. And, we're just coming off the heels of a beautiful tomato dinner that Chef Jamie did. And it was absolutely amazing. Were there other ingredients? Of course, but we really focused and showcased the tomato and celebrated that season. We try and get menus printed ahead of time. And Jamie always drives marketing nuts because he wants to wait. The seasons are moving and evolving and changing so quickly that he really wants to walk through the garden today and see what looks great and puts it on a menu. I always say, if you're going to the farmers markets, and if you're not, I would encourage you to find those local farmers markets and go support those farmers. Get the product direct. I always say the shortest distance between 2 places is direct. If you can go to the farmer's market and get that product directly from the farmer, fantastic. And don't have a preconceived notion about what the menu should be. What's that?
Don't bring a list.
Don't bring a list. Go to the farmer's market and let the farmer's market tell you what you're going to put on the plate. And it's exciting for the guest. It's exciting for you. It's challenging. It's stimulating. What you're going to see a lot of from several different farmers is going to be at the peak season, when it's the best, when it's growing the best. And I'm not promoting that that's when it's the cheapest, but it is a great value when it's in peak season. When there's the most of it is when it picks the fastest and the most efficiently, and we can bring it out, and we want to move it because there's more behind that. eat seasonally, but also let that menu be dictated by the season rather than going with a list, sitting in your office and creating a menu and then going and try and find it. I can guarantee you can find it. You can call your purveyor, you can dial them up, and they will ship it in for you. The costs go out of whack. There's just so many things wrong with that. If you can leave those menus, the verbiage place seasonal vegetable, it just helps so much by being able to do that and then taking advantage of what Mother Earth, what Mother Nature, what that farmer is providing on any given day. Fun way to do it.
Yeah. So the tomato dinner, as you mentioned, is something that we started doing almost 10 years ago. I thought, we should do this like vegetable centered dinner. And no matter what season it is, we can plug in a dinner on those dates. So we've done corn dinners and carrot dinners and cabbage dinners and even legume dinner, which no one came to the legume dinner, but
yeah, that one was a bust, wasn't it?
Delicious, but whatever. And, we'll try and build like 6 or 7 courses of that ingredient, and every year it's different, and every year the menu's different, every dinner is different. But what that teaches us is, to what Chef Tanner mentioned, is putting vegetables in the center of the plate and how to bring that vegetable to the center of the plate. What's the best way to put an ingredient in the center of the, obviously we all expect the pork chop and the tenderloin and whatever else and the fish in the center of the plate, but we've shifted that a little bit here. We're not vegetarian or vegan or plant-based. We're really just shifted towards understanding how to bring vegetables to the center of the plate and bring along with them some of their best friends in the dish or story or style that we're trying to share.
Yeah, I was partial to the tomato upside down cake. And then you finish that with what?
Oh, this really funky cheese that we've like aerated in a siphon. It was almost like a cheese plate disguised as a dessert, but basil ice cream, things like that. Yeah, what's wrong with it? The tomato upside down cake.
Nothing was wrong with it at all. I mean, it was incredible. And I do kind of like sweets, but that was if I had to pick a favorite, that one was it. You saved the best for the last.
That's good.
Ferran Adria was #1 chef in the world, and Charlie Trotter brought Ferran to the farm. And we toured the farm, and then Charlie brought some of his staff in the day before. We did a 12-course lunch after the tour. But Ferran made a comment that's always stuck with me. We've explored every species of fish, beef, poultry, pork that exists, unless there's some rare species out on a mountain someplace that somehow has not been found. We've explored and exploited every one of those. But there are literally thousands of vegetables to be explored. Most of us eat 2, 3, 4 times a day. And it's something that we want to be exciting and stimulating. And it's an intimate thing. You're putting something into your mouth. It's where we break bread. It's where we sit and socialize with each other. And it's a fun way to be able to communicate and to have fun. And I think that the vegetables bring so much excitement because there's so much fun. And it's not a shameless plug, but Jamie and his culinary team spent about 2 years in the middle of COVID doing the book. It's called A Modern Guide to Common and Unusual Vegetables, The Chef's Garden. And I'm not mentioning it to sell the book. I really am mentioning it because of the direction that Jamie went with the book. And, we tend to cook a butternut the way Mom did. We cut it in half, we bake it at 375, we put brown sugar and butter on, we might add a piece of pork sausage on it, and we do it twice a year, and we're done with butternut. And in the book, we explore all the possibilities of an individual vegetable. There's 100 recipes in there. Jamie is very passionate, and I'm sure he'll get into that, about reducing waste. We've all seen the commercials on TV about a 40% food waste in America. 40% of what we produce in the United States is wasted. I actually think that is understated. But his approach to this is looking at a plant in a different way. Have you considered a butternut soup? Have you considered a butternut ice cream? Jamie mentioned that we did an entire dinner around corn. I would have never thought of a sweet corn ice cream, but I'll tell you what, it's pretty damn good. It's just fun, and there's so many different possibilities, endless possibilities within a single ingredient, a single vegetable, but then also looking at that plant in different ways than we've considered. Think about the cruciferous family. What's in the cruciferous family? Cabbages, broccolis, cauliflowers, Brussels sprouts, collard greens. I would defy everybody listening here today, if Jamie and I blindfolded you all and sat you down and gave you a taste of a collard green and a taste of a Brussels sprout leaf, you wouldn't know the difference. Now, we would cook that Brussels sprout leaf a little longer because it's a little tougher, but you think about the beautiful plant and all these leaves that are grown naturally to protect the Brussels sprout that we pick off of the stalk. It's a 4 foot, 5 foot tall stalk, beautiful plant with all these leaves, and all we do is pick the Brussels sprout off. All the rest of this plant is wasted. And so Jamie this is the kind of thing that they do over at the Culinary Vegetable Institute, is say, why not? Let's explore the leaf. Let's look at that. How can we reduce the waste? From a farmer's perspective, all the energy, all the love, all the nutrients, all the time that goes in, it takes 9 to 10 months to grow a Brussels sprout. And we pick off the Brussels sprout, we leave all the rest of it. Why can't we utilize more of that plant? I've been growing zucchini squash for 40 years. I never knew that you could eat the stem. If you're growing them in your garden, you pick the zucchini off and you can eat the stem. Who'd have thunk it? And it's kind of been an exciting way to look at that plant in a different way. So the book is really kind of a fun guide to utilizing more of the plant than we would have considered.
Yeah, one thing you taught me, and just hammered into me, is that every part of a plant's life offers something unique to the plate. And one thing that does for us is to look at the whole plant and really think about that. Is my favorite part of the Brussels sprout plant is actually not like the Brussels sprout. It's the, it's either the new growth at the very top of the plant, those like tender leaves that it's almost looks like it's like a mega Brussels sprout, or
it looks like a little head of cabbage.
Yeah,
right
yeah,
a loose leaf cabbage.
That thing's delicious, and that the center of the stalk, it's like like the marrow of the femur. It's like an apple had a baby with a Brussels sprout in texture and in flavor. It's really a cool thing, and yeah, I mean that's all guided by the chef's garden, just general philosophies that allows us to look at an ingredient for the first time every time when something walks into the door, and don't get bound by that butternut squash recipe that you've come to love, and it's probably delicious and amazing and it works and whatever else, but like it's time to try something else, farmer, with the butternut squash. Let's look at something else every year. Let's see it as if you've never seen it before. Cook it like you've never cooked it before, and that keeps it pretty interesting here, and keeps us engaged and driven to try and just try and make our mark on this world. We really want, at the end of the day, when people think about vegetables, think about the Chef's Garden and the Culinary Vegetable Institute, the farmers market, the book, and the show, and all the other stuff we do around them.
And Jamie, I'm going to put you on the spot. I'm going to ask you, but I'll use one as an example that I've already used, but I'll ask you to maybe give us some more examples. I think that from a chef's perspective, what I see as a farmer is that it makes it easier for your guest if you can bridge that gap a little bit. Pineapple upside down cake. My father, it was his favorite dish in the world, was a pineapple upside down cake. It was a black skillet, a well-worn black skillet, and it was a pineapple upside down cake.
Cool.
Jamie takes something that we all know. For our whole lifetime, we all know what a pineapple upside down cake is. He makes a tomato upside down cake. It's a bridge. It's something that's somewhat familiar, but then stretches your mind into a vegetable, into a fruit, into something that, okay, I can relate to this. I can get my mind around it. If we make it so abstract, if we've got it steam coming out of a bottle like a genie, maybe that's a little too far in most cases. But if you can bridge that. So Jamie, what are some other examples of that?
That's actually something that's taken us about 10 years to learn, is like people in general are coming at fennel and eggplants and cabbage, even with some level of obscurity and or like, I don't know what the right word is, just a little bit guarded around eating a plate of any vegetable. A lot of people really have some kind of an issue with something. Some people's
Mom never cooked it at home.
right, yeah, or she cooked it horribly at home. If you're my mom, and
Or my mom. Our
right,
our mom's generation were terrible cooks. You know, maybe
right.
it's different for you guys. My grandmother was an amazing cook, but my mom, she thought it was a big deal to give us a TV dinner.
Yeah. So one thing I've just found here over the years that's really just helped us kind of bridge that gap, to use your words, is to give them something they're familiar with, but just change some of the ingredients around it, or word it in a way that makes it a little more inviting or approachable, right? Our menus are written very vaguely and very minimal, because when a guest sits down to not read a menu, really, because everything on the page is something they're going to be eating. So they're not like picking and choosing from this menu. And if there's too much on there, I think people get a little bit guarded on like, I don't like anchovies, or I don't like whatever. And I don't, so just, we keep it
I
pretty.
hate spaghetti squash.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. We keep the wording vague, and then, but the words that are there are relevant and relatable, and the dialogue that we exchange with the guests are of basically just trying to bridge that gap to saying, this is something you actually are very, very common classic, cultural potluck staples, things that we all know and love, but it's just brought in kind of a different way. And we bring multiple varieties of a single ingredient to the same dish, and that gives a lot of diversity. The tomato salad's a great example. It's seasonal right now, but there's hundreds of varieties of tomatoes on the farm, and tomato salad could be as simple as a red Roma tomato and some olive oil or something. But here we're able to use so many varieties and so many sizes and so many shapes, so many colors, so many things, flavors even. And that's really kind of helped us and helped me specifically deliver unforgettable guest experience in the dining room, is just leaning into diversity of ingredients and every part of that plant. It's also helped us with waste, and we can look at the thing that you always throw away, and then just find a really good application for it that you can rely on, that's delicious, that guests aren't hesitant to consume. And that's all bottom line. It's really helpful as an operator. We are operating the Culinary Vegetable Institute here as if its own food and beverage operation. And, Chef's Garden is my number one supplier. Now, we are known to go to the farm and steal what we need every once in a while, so to keep our food costs down a little bit, but
Yeah, they go after dark and harvest with flashlights.
yeah.
But here's a great example of what you're talking about, Jamie. How about adding onto the dinner, if you want to add this at the end, with a tea service? Okay, right now,
Right.
it's sweet corn season.
Yeah.
Okay, Curtis Duffy shared this with me. Curtis Duffy at Ever. You can husk this, and what do? We throw the husk and we throw the silk away. You can do a corn husk tea. You can do a corn silk tea, and you've added an experience. You've added something onto it. Number one, tea. We all know tea, and we all know the corn husk. And you put those two together, and you've just added. Maybe you get 20% of the guests that decide they want the tea service at the end, and maybe it goes with something that Chef Jamie makes with corn that goes with the tea.
Sure.
I mean, it's just add-ons and
Yeah.
ways
Yeah.
to utilize that. Instead of wasting that corn husk or the
Right.
corn silk, you make a tea.
It's a great example. I mean, you're giving more to the guest experience, and it's not costing you more. It's actually something you're just not going to have to, throw away. And the same thing, like that tomato cake you mentioned, the very first thing the guests consumed this Saturday was a tomato water martini. Well, the byproduct of that tomato water was tomato pulp that we dried for powder that folded into that cake. And you know, that cake wouldn't have been what it was without the cocktail on the front end. And you know, I think those are really important.
Absolutely. And you know, it's about differentiation,
Mm.
but I do believe, and I mentioned this earlier, I think that our guests are more primed and more ready, more open, more willing to try different things, but they're more savvy and interested in the season. And we have a saying of healthy soil, healthy vegetables, healthy people, healthy environment. And it's really, that's the crux of regenerative agriculture. And I think we would be amiss if we didn't at least talk briefly about regenerative agriculture. You know, the old buzzword was sustainable agriculture. And sustainable, if you think about sustaining, it means that you're like, when I was a kid, I always hated pull-up day. There was one day a year that we would all go to the gym and we had to do pull-ups and see how many pull-ups we could do. And we had one kid, Tom Crapsey, he could do pull-ups one arm, he grab like this, and he could do pull-ups with one arm. And oh, by the way, he's right-handed. He would do them right-handed, and then he would do them left-handed and do one-arm pull-ups. And you know, and everybody could do 20 or 10 or 7 or 4 or 3. And I couldn't do a pull-up to save my life. So I would get a hold of the bar, and I thought, well, at least, and I would try and pull up, and I didn't have the strength. I would just hang on to the bar because maybe that at least looked better than, you know, until my fingers just slowly started slipping away from the bar, and I dropped my head in humiliation because I couldn't do a pull-up. That's what I call sustainability. It's hanging on. It's not rebuilding. It's not regrowing. It's not strengthening. Regenerative agriculture, you're growing the people, you're rebuilding the land, you're leaving the land in better condition, you're taking care of the environment. Regenerative agriculture really suits more what we're trying to do. And it works in harmony with nature. How many of you, maybe you can do your wave on the screen. How many of you have ever heard a parent say, or maybe now as an adult, you've said it, oh, I think I need some vitamin D. I'm going to go get some sunshine. Maybe it was, you thought it was a joke. Maybe you thought it was just funny. Maybe you thought it was an excuse to go sit in the sun. Guys, there's more truth to it than you can imagine. If you can get your mind around the idea that your body is a receptacle for energy from the sun, then it's not such a far stretch to recognize that what we do on the farm, we actually have a lab set up here on the farm. Now, I say lab, I don't want you to get the wrong idea. We're opposed to genetic modification. This isn't voodoo. This isn't manipulation of the product. This is to measure the results of our work. One of the things that you have to understand is the same minerals that are in a vegetable are the same minerals that should be in your body. If they're deficient in your body, it's because they're deficient in the food that you're consuming. So what we try and do is find out what the mineral deficiencies are in the soil. And once we've identified what those mineral deficiencies are, we go about planting what we call cover crops. It's an unprecedented commitment to the concept. 2/3 of our acreage is committed to growing nothing but cover crops. And the cover crops are crops that we've identified that will rebuild the minerals that are deficient in the soil. For example, clover, alfalfa, buckwheat, rye, Sudan grass, mint even. We have 16 different species of plants that will grow. So it actually takes us more management time to grow the cover crops than it does the crop that we're trying to grow to consume. So once we identify those mineral deficiencies, then we plant these different cover crops. That's harvesting the energy, it's feeding the biology, creating biodiversity, getting everything working in the soil that should. There's more life below the Earth's surface than there is above. But if you're using chemicals, you're killing that. So when you quit using the chemicals, you start using plants to harvest the energy, we're seeing numbers as high as 300 to 700 times higher than the USDA average. The nutritional level in vegetables has gone down 80% in 100 years. At the same time, a 3,000% increase in kidney, liver, heart, cancer disease, attention deficit disorder, autism, childhood obesity, allergies, diabetes. I wouldn't bet the farm, but I would bet your dinner there isn't anybody listening to this podcast today that doesn't have somebody in their immediate family or circle of friends that isn't suffering for one or more of those diseases. Guys, it's not sustainable. Regenerative agriculture, it really is where everything starts. The health of the soil, healthy vegetables, healthy people, healthy environment. Thomas Keller in his restaurant at the French Laundry has a sign up that says the sense of urgency. Sense of urgency. We're at a time, at a place, at a point in the world's survival that there's a sense of urgency with looking at what we're eating, looking at the way we're growing it, and the preservatives are killing us. I think it's just so critical. People are really getting it. They're understanding it. I think as chefs, it's imperative for us to acknowledge that we've got to look at the health and the wellness of what we're consuming, but also what we're serving to our guests. They're getting it. And we need to be on board with that and really trying to focus on that. And I think that that really is what allows the direction of vegetable as center of the plate. People are into eating vegetables. And it takes long, and the beef prices are expensive, and they're going to keep right on going up. I'm not against it. I like a steak. We can put a smaller portion of protein and a bigger, exciting portion of vegetable. And I think that people are appreciating it, not thinking that they're getting less, but thinking they're getting more. There's so much color and texture and flavor and different things to be able to add to that plate. And it is limitless with what we can do with the vegetables on the plate. I'm all out of gas on regenerative agriculture. I'm going to be quiet.
Just like that, just like that.
I'm gonna jump in here for a second.
Yeah.
Questions, but I couldn't reiterate what you said more. And you and I have a little bit of a history from some places I've worked in the past. I won't say their names, but I've said that I will not. My background is very important to me, but I will always make sure that I'm working someplace where I would feed the food to my family. And I get to do that every day now because I don't sell anything. But more so, I get to you and I and Chef Jamie get to have a conversation with chefs to make sure that we're putting the best food forward for our families, for our children, and our guests at the end of the day. Because as they say, garbage in, garbage out. You know, as an athlete, a competitor, if I were to eat, you know, we just talked earlier before this whole thing started, my vegetables I'm eating today are cruciferous vegetables to make sure I'm getting the right nutrients to balance out with the protein. If I'm just eating the generic broccoli from the store, sometimes even that stuff has almost no nutrients left in it because it's has so many pesticides and everything that have been put into it. So anyway, I wanted to say that, and I appreciate the fact that we've had that relationship for so long, and you struck a nerve with me in a good way. So, can I ask you a couple questions here? We've got some folks that I think is pertinent what we're talking about.
Absolutely.
So, and a lot of come from the same people. This one's a little out of context. So, chefs, do you harvest the zucchini stalks at the end of the season?
Yeah. So we'll take them. We'll take them throughout the growing season, but you'll always want the younger growth that the plant has. So like you can do it in the beginning of the season. Obviously, like don't cut all the leaves off the plant. That's really a farmer discussion, but you can throughout the season take the younger stalks from the plant.
And you got to keep in mind, it's not one planting of zucchini for the year.
Right.
We start the first ones in March in a greenhouse, and then we plant the first planting in the soil in the greenhouse, and then we start the second planting in the greenhouse and transplant that into the field. We do 20 plantings of baby squash a year. So, and as they start out, as you can imagine, you walk the whole field, you get 6 pounds. It probably costs us $30 a pound to harvest because the efficiency isn't there. There's one here, there's one here, there's one here, and you got to pick those off. As they progress and they start to come in season, now you're picking 300 pounds, and the cost per pound to harvest them is $1 a pound compared to $30 a pound. And you want to keep picking those off. But at some point, the yield will start and go down, and it'll hit a point where you'll abandon that field and then go into the next field. So the idea is to continually have good quality coming. Literally, we're still planting baby squash in the field for the late season, and then we'll go back into the greenhouse and eke out one more planting late. So we've got those stalks to be able to pick from any one of a number of fields pretty much all season, about 8 months.
And you're almost answering the next question out here. It says, can you speak a bit to how you continue producing great products in October through April in cold and icy Ohio? You just,
Well, absolutely. Number one, they're not the same product.
yep.
We do try and replicate grandmother's root cellar. Little known fact is if you go 56 inches deep into the ground, you're 56 degrees year round. If it's January and it's 10 degrees and you go 56 inches deep, it's 56 degrees. If it's August and it's 100 degrees out and you go 56 inches deep, you're 56 degrees. It was a precursor to a root cellar. The root cellar was a precursor to a refrigerator. We lose efficiency as we go because it costs more input to be able to refrigerate. So, but what we try to do is replicate grandmother's root cellar. Things like rutabaga and parsnips and potatoes and celery root and salsa beet and cabbages to an extent and carrots and beets. What else, Jamie? Root parsley.
Yeah.
Pretty much the
well,
gamut.
and also like our end of season, like, you know, October, November, December is generally warmer than our neighbors.
Yeah.
Because of the lake. We're right on Lake Erie. It's the shallowest lake, and that keeps us a little bit of a longer, beautiful growing season. You'll have that display of vegetables in front of Lee right now. We'll be there. I mean, last year we had tomatoes in November, no?
Yeah.
I mean,
And we could have them year round. It's not efficient to do them. The amount of energy it would take to produce them. It's not environmentally friendly. And quite frankly, hit November, who wants to eat a tomato? It's butternut season. It's Brussels sprout season. It's cauliflower and all the fall things. I think if you're in tune with your body will tell you what you need to be eating. Swiss chard and beets. There are minerals within those vegetables. If the more in tune, I'd be interested to hear what Chef says, because with him being in the programs that he has with the weightlifting and the competition and really focused on the foods, if you listen and the more in tune you are with your body will tell you what minerals it needs. There's times I'd be interested to know how many of your body have said, I need kale, I need Swiss chard, I need cauliflower. Those minerals, your body will tell you what you need. And there's such a natural flow. Your body is not telling you, I need a tomato in November. It's telling you, you need Swiss chard. Chef, can you respond to that?
Well, even that, you see so many of these supplements that are out there that you can get 75 of your vegetables in one pill. Well, that doesn't look anything like a vegetable anymore, my friend. That looks like some sort of powder that I doesn't recognize whatsoever. The more variety in for me, at least for myself, more variety in when I eat in season, the nutritive value of a vegetable is in season is going to give you everything you need. If you're eating something that's out of season, that nutritive value, especially when a lot of the hydroponics and different things you see out there, they're just getting sprayed with water, with minerals.
Oh, the nutritional levels tank on hydroponics.
Garbage.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to step back. That was my questions. I'm going to let you go back to the regular schedule.
Did we lose it, Matt?
I mean, I've been thinking about, and keeping with this like conversation in general, is, you know, this like plant forward versus plant based versus, you know, vegan menu options and things that we're doing. And, you know, I'm assuming that everybody here in the news has read about 11 Madison Park reintroducing their duck and, you know, some small elements of animal products into the menu. And that's sort of the difference between like sustainable and maybe regenerative as well, in a way. You know, you can be doing all the right things and just be sustainable and just hang on. As a business, there's a 200-person team in that restaurant, and yeah, you know, if you I'm not hard to speak for Daniel and Chef and home, but like you have to almost wonder, like there is a guest perspective on plant-based and vegan, and you know, not everybody's willing to go and spend $375 to whatever on a meal of carrots. But more importantly, what I learned with what the restaurant was going through is wine sales also suffered a little bit because nobody's buying that 1964 Burgundy to pair with the rutabaga. I think that's also important to note. So yeah, it's like, you know, we find that same balance here. We're not, you know, obviously a steakhouse. Well, I have plenty to say about those. We do try and bring vegetables to the center of the plate, make them the star, but bring along 2 or 3 of their best friends. And it might include sausage or beef or duck or chicken or lamb or squab or foie or whatever. But it's, you know, it's still about that vegetable. Going back to the steakhouse thing, you know, those operators are, I'm sure there are several in this room, hopefully, making their margin on the sides. It's the sides that are bringing the bottom line up because those steaks are a fortune, right? And you know that they cost us a fortune. So really, let's spend some time on those sides, the spinach and the onion and the kales and the cabbage and the Brussels sprouts and asparagus. Dedicate some real creative R&D time to that product, and that's going to help because the 30-year index on turnips hasn't changed a whole lot. You know, while you layer that graph on a graph for like corn-fed prime beef from Texas, and it's a totally different animal, right? And that's not what's driving the revenue. It's sort of the bottom line. It's certainly driving the revenue. And it's a really
That's a very good point.
yeah. Yeah, and it's relevant, you know, to everyone here on this call. It's like, especially the operators or the guys who are doing menu development and things like that, it's definitely worth it to spend some time on those vegetables, whatever kind of operation you're in. They're not costing you more than anything else. It's really valuable, and a really easy opportunity to surprise and delight your guests in the dining room, where they're like, whoa, didn't know a rutabaga could do this, or an asparagus could be like this, or turnips. It's that the humblest of ingredients can be so incredible, with just a little bit of care and attention.
I think that if there's any takeaway from this, I mean, I think you nailed it. I mean, we see those proteins, the cost, and if you graph that out, I mean, it's just insane.
Yeah.
And if you graph out vegetable, I mean, it's almost flatline, you know. But vegetables can no longer be an afterthought. And not only can it be, but it's such a tremendous opportunity for the margin. I mean, we're also seeing a trend away from cocktail, and we're seeing wine sales globally, and particularly in the United States, down. And that's a place where wine sales were always a great margin for them to build in and cover some of the other costs. Well, you're going to have to get creative on looking for those margins, and it's not in the protein, but the vegetable is the answer. That we've got to quit looking at that as an afterthought and look at it as an opportunity to delight, you know, and entertain the guests, but also to build the margin in. It's so fun to get a little bit creative on these vegetables and see what can be done. I saw Dan Barber, and I know this is an extreme. I saw Dan Barber at Blue Hill or Stone Barn, Blue Hill at Stone Barn, a single turnip prepared absolutely beautifully, and it was $45 on the plate. $45. And no, I'm not suggesting that that's what we do. That's an extreme, but that's an example of really celebrating the turnip. I'm not suggesting that we can do that. We can't do that at our farm at the Culinary Vegetable Institute, charge $45 for a turnip. But the point is to really celebrate. I mean, when this is in season and it's dripping down the chin and you have to have a hanky in one hand and you can celebrate that tomato, whether it's a tomato ice cream, whether it's a tomato upside down cake, or whatever it happens to be, there's so much opportunity for creativity and for margin. Where are we going to get it right now? Guys, where are you going to find that margin? And the vegetables is the answer.
Cabbage is the future. It's coming along.
Oh,
It's
Savoy cabbage.
yeah, yeah, that looks
I
great.
love the Savoy cabbage. I mean, the body and the flavor and the texture on this stuff is just insane.
Uh-huh.
Celebrate Savoy.
Last couple of years, we've been putting those things right in the middle of the plate. You know, make a sauce with, some beef trim or whatever, but just just bury that cabbage in something delicious. It's great.
I I can jump if I jump in and so one of the I remember when Farmer when you and I when I was at Pepperidge Farm, I remember we were talking about vegetables as one of the trends. We call it vegetable 2.0. I think we're on veggie 7.0 now at this point. But I remember a restaurant called Dirt Candy that's in New
Yeah,
York,
Yeah,
which
sure.
and still, so I literally, as we're on here, I have the luxury of being in front of a computer so I can look up the menu where they're doing $110 tasting menu right now, all vegetable based. So I think chefs can actually go on here and get some inspiration, even for that steakhouse. I hate to put it, put vegetarian and steak together, but the steak is such a, it's all about the technique of us as a chef cooking cooking the steak properly. But the true technique and fun of being a chef is playing with those vegetables and doing something. So I think looking at restaurants like this can give a really good inspiration for some of the chefs that are out there too.
totally.
Absolutely. Great idea. All right, Chef Jamie. All right, I'm going to put you on the spot. This is unrehearsed. Imagine you're an Iron Chef. You don't know what the product is going to be. I am right now going to show you the product. We're going into the season where they just get better and better. I'm going to hold the product up. You're an Iron Chef. You have
Yep.
to come up with a la minute right
Sure.
now. You got to come up with your dish.
Ready.
You get all the colors of carrots.
Okay.
Boom. Go.
Yeah. Battle carrot.
Battle carrot.
Yeah, this is something, this is a great exercise. So this is how we take an ingredient. We look at a list we create with every ingredient, and it's kind of a what can you do with this? Carrots, grilled, fried, dried, puffed, pureed, frozen, churned, shaved, let's say, dehydrated, rehydrated. Let's say let's do some. I would look at doing a traditional menu format, probably a salad, some kind of soup, some kind of entree that's like real heavy, smoked and like pot roasty maybe, and then wrap up with a carrot in some kind of frozen form. Maybe in like a little beautiful little carrot mold or something like that.
Bam.
Done. And then and then Morimoto comes in and
And then there's the tops. For
bangs me.
thousands of years, we only ate the top of a carrot.
Yeah,
For the last 200 years, we only eat the bottom of the carrot. Full of nutrition. What can you do with the top, Jamie?
yeah. The tops are obviously great. It's so closely related to parsley. So anything where parsley goes, carrot top goes. That's your salsa verdes, chimichurri, some oils. We just plug them into most of our salads, honestly. Just slide them in. Fish where parsley lives, carrot happy at home.
Basil pesto. You can replace the carrot tops with the basil for the basil and use the carrot in place of the basil.
Total.
Yeah. I've seen chefs do it, make a crouton with them. You can deep fry them and put them on as a carrot crouton. Don't waste anything. Use it all. Celebrate it, accentuate it, use it, and be proud of it. Not like, oh, it's an afterthought. We're trying to get rid of this because it's waste. No, we're talking about it. We're bragging about the fact that we're utilizing 100% of it. It used to be, everybody used every part of an animal. Why did they do that? Because countries, origins of the world for survival, whether they're 1,000-year-old country or a 2,000 years, there was so much poverty in some levels, and you had people that got to afford the best pieces of an animal, but then you had people that were the peasants, and they had to use the part they. Why do you think we came up with a recipe for the skull or the tongue or the oxtail? Of course, now you see great chefs using an oxtail and charging $135 for it, but it was out of survival that we used we learn to use every part of an animal. Today, as chefs, we do that as best we can out of reverence and respect to the animal, to use every part of that. If we're going to kill an animal to sustain ourselves or to serve our guests, we want to be respectful and use every part of that animal. We want to look at that plant in the same way, and people appreciate that and respect it. It's value added, and people want to know and they want to hear what you're doing and see something really, really creative that you've done to utilize every single part of that. What do we call it? From root to what is it? Root to spoon? Yeah.
To bloom, yeah, it's the whole,
Yeah, root to bloom.
and that's actually a good call too. Right now, and it only happens once a year, is the season where mirepoix is flowering in the fields, and we can pick onion, celery, and carrot blossoms and build a salad of those flowers. It's so beautiful, aromatic, and amazing. I love it. It's a cool time of year for mirepoix.
Know thy farmer. Jamie always says, know thy farmer.
That's right.
Farmer Lee Jones on Instagram. I would love for you to share with us what you create in your kitchen. Take a picture, tag me in it. I want to see it. I want to hear about it. I want to know what you're doing. I want you to stay in touch with us. Look, there is so much to be explored. Have fun, be creative. And as Jamie's mentioned a couple of times in this segment, tell the story. What's the story? People are not there. If they were there just to satiate their stomachs, they wouldn't go to the restaurant or they wouldn't go to the country club. They'd go and do it more efficiently than going to the restaurant. They're there for the social experience of it. They're not there to eat and just satiate their stomach. They want to be challenged. They want to be stimulated. They want their minds to be stimulated. They want to think. They want to understand. They want to see the exploring that you've done on that plate. And I think that if you can tie it back to purpose, if it's purpose-driven food, it's seasonally sensitive, it's environmentally friendly, it's socially responsible. People are getting it. They're digging it, if I can use a farm expression for that. Anyway, I don't know how much more time we have. I have had absolutely a blast getting to talk veggies with you guys. I just wish you all the fun in the world.
I do have a few more questions if we do have a few more minutes, so I'm going to throw
Okay.
at you. Okay, can you speak to your success on building long-term relationships, building both in your careers as a chef and a farmer?
Chef Jamie?
Speak to my some long-term successes.
Success on building long-term relationships.
Yeah. You know what? I've always just been a big fan of people. It's why I'm in this industry. I love hospitality. The fact that I today get to deliver hospitality to culinary professionals is to me what has this like just inherently long-term relationship now, because like these are people that not only am I delivering hospitality to, it's people I can relate to. It's people that do the same job that we all do or that I grew up doing. And those kinds of connections, when a chef visits the farm, we'll host around 600 visiting chefs this year. When a chef visits the farm, there is just a one-on-one connection that happens here in this kitchen every single time that lasts a lifetime. You know, I know they're going to remember it forever. I'm certainly going to remember it forever. We want to make it the best trip possible. That helps me with long-term relationships.
Yeah, you know, I think that there's an old saying that if you don't stand for something, you stand for nothing. And if you meet me today, you met me tomorrow, and you met me yesterday. I'm a God-fearing person, and I love growing vegetables, and I'll talk vegetables with you. And what you see today is what you'll see tomorrow. I'm not going to treat you any differently on any given day. I am what I am, and I'm okay with that. You know, when we were kids, my dad would invest in the best farm equipment that he could, but he always thought a vehicle was a terrible investment. And so we always drove pretty shitty cars. And if we were ever late for school and they were going to give us a ride to school, we were embarrassed at the vehicles that my parents drove. And so we would ask them to drop us off a block before school. We'd walk the rest of the way. And when you come to get to a point where you're okay in your own skin and who you are, and you stand for what you stand for, regardless of the weather, regardless of the crowd, regardless of who the audience is, you're the same. And somebody can see that and expect that and know that. There's a comfort level with that in being okay in your own skin and loving what you love. And people are going to respect you for what you do. I took a group of chefs one time up to Cleveland. This was early on, and I was honored that they had taken time to come to the farm. And I thought, gee, these are high-end chefs. I need to take them to the fanciest restaurant I can. I drove them to Cleveland. We ate 8 or 10 courses. We had wine paired with it, and was trying to entertain them. And we were chatting on the way back, and it was on the west side of Cleveland. And I mentioned this great little hot dog stand that I love. It's right in inner city on the west side. And we had just eaten 8 or 9 courses, and they're like, go there. We want to go there. Take us there right now. And we went there, and it was, I don't know whether you could call it a hole in the wall, but it was a local people. More people supported the hot dog stand that were transient, that were on foot, that went there than people that stopped. But I knew about the place, and it was the best hot dog imaginable that you could ever get. And the woman that served those hot dogs was proud of those hot dogs. And those chefs came in and they ate those hot dogs, and then they ordered everything else they could on the menu, even after we'd had 8 or 9 courses. And they explained something to me after. It's like, it doesn't need to be fancy. It has to be great. Whatever it is that you're doing, be great at it and love that. And this woman was so proud, and she was excited that the chefs were asking her techniques and ways that she had prepared the hot dog, the bun, the mustard, the condiments that went with it. And I learned something that night. It wasn't about a fancy place. It was about some place that stood for something, or somebody that stands for something. I may disagree with you. I may disagree with your politics, but if you stand for it respectfully, I'm going to respect you for that. And so, I don't know, maybe I've gone way too long on answering that question, but I think that we respect each other by loving what we do and being the same, no matter who the audience or who the crowd is.
My wife and I's 15th year anniversary is tomorrow, and probably people think we're going to go out she's a chef as well. We think that we're going to go out for a multi-course meal. We're going out for hamburgers tomorrow, hamburgers and fries tomorrow. So that's what she wants to do. And that's because we respect the people that make everything that's on that menu is from scratch, the bread, the bun, sides, everything. I'd much rather do that any given day than go out to a multi-course meal here in Jacksonville. So
Right.
I think that's a perfect way to close on this, gentlemen. And truly, I thank both of you for taking the time here. Totally blessed to have you as not only as colleagues, but as friends. And thank you for taking the time. And I'll give you a little bit of insight, and I'm going to be inviting you probably. You're alluding to the root to stem trend. That's to me the next evolution of this vegetable trend, is going back to that nose to tail and root to stem. So a little preview for 2026, I think there, but you're spot on with that. But thank you to both of you. Extremely informative, and I love both of you. So thank you for taking the time to be here with us.
Oh my gosh, thank you. We enjoyed spending some time with everybody. Have a great day. Remember, eat your veggies.
We're hosting an ACF meeting on Tuesday in Pittsburgh, right, Farmer?
Yes, sir.
We're hosting a preservation workshop here October 6th. If anyone wants to come and learn about, walk through the garden, pick some vegetables, preserve them in the kitchen. And then October 20th, we have a vegetable class with Rich Rosendale as well.
Fantastic.
Couple good classes coming up.
Sounds awesome. Well, thank you, both of you. And thank you to all of our members. Please look out for the survey you'll receive in the next day or so, which you'll need to complete for your continuing education hours. We hope you'll join us next week on August 27th as Chef Joe Parajecki presents a wonderful session about the art of pickling. Then on September 17th, Schwann's will be hosting a webinar on Asian action stations for your establishment. Visit the media tab on acfchefs.org to register for upcoming webinars. On behalf of the ACF National Office, thank you to both of our presenters today for bringing us an amazing opportunity. And thank you to all of you for joining us today. We hope you have a wonderful day.